move that we proceed with the meeting with as much technology as we can.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bird?
Larry.
Bird, was that your aye? Lochte?
Aye.
Okay. Larry Miller?
Aye.
Aaron Rowe?
If you look at the participants list, my hand is up.
Okay, Carol Larson is aye. I got Aaron Rowe is aye. David Haney is aye. Monique is aye. All right.
Okay.
Any nays? No. Any abstentions? All right. So I will call the meeting to order. The Humboldt County Human Rights meeting, and we will start with roll call.
Could we start immediately with our guest who has to leave?
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I'm trying to get the agenda back up again. So let's do roll call really quick, and then we can start right away with Jackie. All right. Bird Lochte.
Here.
All right. Aaron Rowe.
Here.
All right. Sorry, everybody. I'm trying to get the agenda up and look at you guys at the same time. I apologize. Okay. Oh, and it doesn't have everyone's name on it. Good Lord. Okay. David Haney.
Here.
Carol Larson.
Here.
Monique Desiree Harper.
Desir Harper, present.
Desir Harper. Thank you. Larry Miller.
Here.
And Eddie has an excused absence, and we're missing, I believe it's just Mary, correct? Mary and Eddie. All right, let's move forward. So let's start. First of all, I want to welcome, we have a new commissioner with us. Monique, when we start with someone, we always like to give them a quick minute to just kind of say what motivated them to get to the commission. If you could be really quick so we could get Jackie right at the top of the agenda.
Yeah, I joined the commission just as a community organizer and someone who takes human rights and human rights issues, especially for BIPOC and Black and Brown communities, very seriously. And I think that I can add a new level and perspective as I fit and categorize myself into many different disenfranchised identities. And I think I can bring that perspective and those experiences to help this committee.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you joining and having lots of new energy. It's very exciting. Thank you so much for coming. And as we move through the agenda, maybe you'll see some things that you want to get interested in and reach out to myself and anybody for support, and we can meet, you know, in the next few weeks to help orient you. You know, everyone is a really valuable resource to help you navigate being on the commission.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, welcome. All right, well, I want to welcome Jacqueline. I might mispronounce your name. Is it Dandino?
Dandino
from the Arcata Playhouse. She's here to represent, she's been one of our Human Trafficking Fund recipients, and she's here to share with us what they've been doing with those funds. So would you need a screen or anything, Jackie? Should I share?
Maybe, yeah, just share a screen, and if I want to share, I have a little media piece that I could share if you want to see it, but I don't have to. So whatever we decide we want to do. I'll take it.
David needs to give you those abilities.
He did.
Okay.
I have the ability. So basically with the funding that the Human Rights Commission gave us, we presented a show called Manil and Her Heart, which was written by a Kauai girl, a 17-year-old Kauai girl from Southern California. And it was about missing and murdered Indigenous women. And it connected Kauai stories with a family story of a young woman in their family that went missing. It cost about $30,000 to bring them up. There were a lot of people in the show. We worked really closely with the Native Women's Collective, Dr. Kutcha Risling-Baldy and Rachel Sundberg, to make all the connections and bring them up. Unfortunately, the week that the show was to happen, one of the father of the daughters who wrote the play ended up in the hospital. And so that whole family and the connecting family didn't come for the show. So we were missing 6 of the 13 players for the show. But there were 7 people who arrived who were kind of the incidental players in the play. So they kind of ringed this core of 6 people. So we ended up doing a reading for high schools. And then we worked all day, and we did a staged reading for the Zero to Fierce Festival in March. And it was amazing. Dr. Kutcha Baldy, she managed to connect with a lot of Native American Studies students. And also attached to the festival, we brought in Great Oak Press from Southern California. So some of those women were there too, and they all stepped up and were players in the show. Many of them having, just seen the play that morning. They did it for the high schools that afternoon. And it was a really very successful event. And at one point, our audience was very few white people sitting in the audience in the Playhouse. And a lot of really great discussions afterwards, and a lot of healing, I think, was done from what I hear from Rachel and Kutcha. So that's where some of that money went to that festival. That happened in March, and I realized I didn't actually receive the funding until after March, but I applied it to that festival. We also did a show called Duke that was about a film called Duke with Michelle Hernandez from the Wiyot tribe, and she wrote a film about residential schools, so we did a piece of that too. Dr. Kutcha Risling-Baldy and Rachel and a few other panelists did a pre-show talk about missing and murdered Indigenous women, and really helped the audience on the Friday night really step into the performance. It was really, really powerful. Just anecdotally, that's the word I'm looking for. It sounds like not right, but there was a young girl in the play who was an incidental player in the show, and she ended up stepping up and being the lead in the play. And there were points when you couldn't understand her, when she spoke with her back to the audience. And then there was a point at the end of the play where she had to sing a song that was basically said, "No more. I'm going to stand up for all the young girls coming after me. We need to stand as a community." And she stood there and grabbed a hold of the necklace that her grandmother had made her. And she sang so loud and so clear that it was the most amazing thing, of just the passion and the power of this young girl, and how she stood up and said, "This is it. This must end, and I must stand forth for all the women who have gone before and all the young girls and women who are coming after me." And so, I mean, it was really, really powerful. So that happened. And then there was a lot of discussions, and then we gave $2,000 of the $4,000. We gave $2,000 to the Native Women's Collective. We had planned to do something on May 5th for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Day, but of course, we couldn't do anything. So we gave them the $2,000 and basically said, you know, here it is, do what you're going to do with it. So they have put together a workshop series called Chohokuem, which is Let's Make It. And it's designed for participants to give back to their community and reconnect with ceremonial and cultural lifeways to help promote health, wellness, and healing in Indigenous communities. So one of them is they're developing a traditional women's dance dress that honors missing and murdered Indigenous women, and that it will be built by young women and it will dance in perpetuity. So this regalia will help young women and women connect to their old stories, as Katja says, which teach meaningful ways to address violence, healing, and building Indigenous futures. So that's where some of that money went to. I have a photo, I have a couple photos actually, that I will share of, oh, just a minute here, let's see how I can do it. Ah, what's going on? It's one of those nights.
It's a full moon.
It is a full moon. Can you see my screen?
We can.
But you just see here. How about this? Now do you see a picture?
Yes.
So this is people gathering materials for the regalia. And they call him a consultant regalia maker. Spent the past few months gathering materials in preparations for the workshops. And so here they are gathering materials. So those are some photos I got from Katja and Rachel. Do you want to see this little section of Manila in her heart? This
Is that what you were telling us about just now?
yeah, that's the show that we brought in. So this is, it's like a minute long, but we don't have to see it.
I think we'd like to see it.
Okay. So this is her talking about the show.
Oh, I don't think we can hear it.
Oh, really? Oh, dear. What do I do there? Oh, sorry. How do I get it so you can hear? Same as system. Okay, let's do this. Let's see if you can hear it now.
If you could also send, is it a link that you could send
is
me
a
that we
link.
could put in
Yeah.
our file?
Yeah,
And then I could,
can.
yeah.
I mean, do you want me to try it again now that I've got the I've got
Sure,
not got
got it.
my
Sure.
speakers on. Let me see if I can find it. I have so many things open. Here we go. I don't know how to get rid of this. But can you hear it?
No.
How about now?
Yep. Yeah, though.
My name is Isabella Madrigal, and I'm here today to put on, now it's the fourth production of Menil and Her Heart. Before I began this journey, I really didn't know that 84% of Native women will experience violence in their lifetimes, or that they disappear and are murdered at rates 10 times higher than the national average. And, I didn't realize that because none of it's being reported, none of it's being documented, and it's happening on reservations, but at similarly high rates in urban cities. And it's not something you hear much about in Southern California. This lack of representation I identified kind of goes beyond not seeing just a Native face in the media, because that's certainly part of the issue, but it's not the entire thing, because our defining stories are also missing from the national narrative. And so, after I kind of came to that realization, I decided to write this play, and I realized that it needed to accomplish two things. And the first was that it had to be, an authentically Indigenous story. But the second was that it had to be told by Native actors, and it had to, be told by Native people for Native people. And I thought that in that way it was going to be able to encompass a larger community.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Let me see if I can get out of it now.
Is there any more to your presentation, or can we open it up to the commission to?
I think there's nothing more to my presentation.
Well, thank you. From someone who that whole committee has a place in my heart. I appreciated the work you guys are doing, and I appreciate that video. Even though we didn't see the video, but I what she had to say, and that we get to be a part of that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for Jackie?
I do, if I may.
Bird?
Yes, thank you, Jackie. And I would like to say thank you for being so adaptable for the problems that obviously you started having problems even before we all started having problems. But you adapted so well and made it work. And I really appreciate that. So thank you very much. I feel as though our grant to you was well used.
Thank you. I really appreciate the support as well. It was really timely when it arrived as well, just post-COVID, that some of our ticket sales actually for the show are still with brown paper tickets. So we haven't even gotten our money from them for the show. So it was very timely for us. So thanks so much. And we have a connection with them now, and they're going to come back in probably 2022. So that will be great.
Good. Aaron?
Also, just Jackie, I wanted to thank you. It feels really great to know that that something you were doing is resulting in the kind of work you just did. So I'm grateful for that. It feels good to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to say, Jackie, if you do have any more work coming up with the Women of Indigenous Studies, if we do still have funds available.
Okay. I'll put that forward to Katja. We are doing some podcast stuff with them, with the Native American Studies. And I'll also see what they're doing with their workshop series. Sometimes it comes through me just because I have time to write the grant and they're busy doing things. So I just kind of funnel it through to them. So, but I'll put it forward to them and see. It's a very generous offer. So I'll see what they're up to.
Thank you. Commissioners, does anyone else have any more comments or questions?
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, very much for the work and for coming and showing us, letting us know what you're up to.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Okay. Do we have any public comment, David?
I do not see any public comment on the Facebook or in chat.
Okay, fantastic. Let's move on to commissioners' communications. Are there any commissioners, do you have anything to report? Bird? Bird, you're on mute. You're on.
Oh, you told me to mute myself. Sorry. I got off what I was paying attention to come to this meeting. I was watching a CNN report through the New York Historical Society. It was on First Ladies, and the first one was Eleanor Roosevelt. It's about a 45 minute clip about her, and there's a lot about what she did, but it's also talks about her with the Human Rights Commission of the United Nations. And I think we should try to get it shown here, maybe through Access Humboldt and TEAT in December for Human Rights Awareness Month. And if the commission thinks it's a good idea, I will pursue that because I have a membership with the Historical Society in New York.
So is that something that you would just pursue and then we would approve, or is that something we would approve for you to pursue?
Well, it's not on our agenda. But what I'm going to do is pursue it as an individual, and then I will bring it to you next month. It would have to be approved in November for us to do it. But I think it's so very appropriate. It talks about all that she did for human rights and for equity and diversity and all of these things. And I just think it would be a marvelous thing for us to show. I even thought about seeing if the library would do it as something from the library too.
Well, we're trying to get people to understand more about what we do and what human rights means. So that sure makes a lot of sense to me. Is it something that you can send out to the commission so we can all watch it online as well, that we could access, like the name of it or something?
Not that I had to get a ticket for it to see
Okay.
it. But I will find out how maybe we can get access to it. That's what I'll do. I just wanted to report that so people can be thinking about it, and if we're able to do it, approve it in November.
Okay, well, thank you. Any other commissioners? All right.
I'm sorry,
Erin?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think we all feel it's a great idea. We don't have any negative feedback. I wanted to follow up on a couple of emails from last month. One was the one that we received from Chris Weston around the masks. He responded in stating that the Humboldt County PH, not sure what that stands for, an Office of Education decided to follow the CDC and the AAP instead of the CDPH. And all of Humboldt County students are required to wear masks at school. Humboldt County may be the only county in California that has stricter school guidelines on COVID-19 than the state. Humboldt County's COVID-19 infection rate is under 0.04%, while the state of California is at about 2.0%. So that's where we are at with the masks in school. We also received an invitation, which I believe I sent you all an invitation to a group of workshops happening this month called The Whiteness Within. It's challenging white supremacy culture. Oh, it's a workshop hosted by Open Art, and Cooperation Humboldt in October, and you can find it on their Facebook resources. Are there any other items of announcement or communications from any of the commissioners? Okay, well, let's dive into the message line. Larry, I believe was that you?
Well, I was on from the 15th to the end of the month here, yeah. But there was somebody on before me. I don't remember.
I think that was Aaron.
That was me.
All right, Aaron.
Yeah. So, Aaron, you want to go?
Sure, I'll give my quick report. I actually reported at the previous meeting. I got all my calls, like 3 or 4 calls the first day. And so I reported on them and put them into the system. I then got one more call from a woman who was very upset that there had been break-ins in Manila, and her apartment wasn't safe, and her apartment manager, she thought, was harassing her, turning off power, etc. And she did leave her number. I called back twice, but her voicemail was full. So that's
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, I get 9 calls. A lot of them were just, I think like one was, I referred to you for, K-Mud was inquiring about the cannabis survey. We had a couple callers from individuals concerning the mental health advisory board letter. Here's one. We got a call came in at 3 a.m. Very garbled from Nigeria. That's a new one. I was not able to respond to it because I couldn't really understand it, but it was curious. The one thing I could understand was the word Nigeria. We had one caller claiming that his rights were not to wear a mask were being violated, and he was being persecuted by Fortuna Police Department and various other stores that were requiring him to wear a mask. Let's see. And the other, really one that really stands out to me, and one I referred just actually yesterday, I believe, to Eddie. We got a call from a lady that was in the county jail, very confused about how the jail was dealing with coronavirus, and she felt that there were a lot of people there that should be released because of it. Eddie's our jail person liaison, and I left the message on the machine and asked that he respond to it. Obviously we don't know what, if anything, he did, but yeah, that's kind of the extent of mine. And as I said, I'm going to be putting these up on. I'm getting my computers in the shop. I'm getting it upgraded, and I'll be able to get these up onto the web like it should be. But that's probably going to be next week before that happens. So anyway, that's my report.
Well, thanks, Larry. That'll be great. A whole new world's going to open up.
Yeah, you'll be able to look at my ugly face there in the Zoom meetings.
On the KMUD call, I didn't get that information. Did they leave a number that I should call, or do I just call the station?
It was Lorraine Schmidt, and yeah, I gave you. You didn't get the message. I left a message on your phone.
Oh, okay. I'll look.
Yeah. It was Lauren Schmidt, and she was inquiring about the cannabis survey.
Okay, thank you. I got it.
Yeah.
I have the phone number because I put it in for Larry. So that was, let's see, where is his number? 707-923-2605.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, so we need to find, so I want to first, because we have a new commissioner this month, I want to explain the phone lines really briefly so she can understand where one of the ways we ask you to volunteer your time. So we do have it's not a hotline, but it's a phone number, Monique, that people call in and say, hey, we need this, or this is what's going on. We have resource cards that we can hand them. You know, you heard Larry, sometimes there are issues we have on the agenda, sometimes there's not. But what we generally do is on the county website is access to the resource cards and have those in front of us. And then if someone needs something, usually there's a number we can give them at the least to, you know, support them. But as Larry said so well, I think when we were explaining this to David and Scott, is that a lot of times it's just people who really need to kind of be listened to. And so every month, everyone, or throughout the year, everyone takes shifts, and they're 2 weeks at a time. And you generally call in once a day. We have a form that you can fill out as you take the calls in that goes through the Google system. And we've made it as easy as possible. And so we have, at every meeting, we fill in a few weeks. And right now we're filling in the month of December. So if any other volunteers would like to step in, we need to have some folks fill in on December 1st through 15th and December 16th through 31st. Bird?
I'll take the first 2 weeks of December.
Thank you. Anyone else through the holidays?
I can I can take the end of December.
Okay, thank you, David.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we've got that. We'll work on January next month.
And what do we have for November? I'm in there on the last part, right? This is Larry.
Yeah, Larry, you're November 16th through 30th.
Okay. And Carol's on the first part then?
Carol is on starting today. She isn't feeling well and had to step out of the meeting. So I have a question, Bird. Do we have enough commissioners to keep moving forward?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. Carol, yeah, unfortunately, Carol had to step out. But so she is this week. I'll reach out to her to make sure it doesn't need coverage. And then I'm next. And then Scott's in November and 1st of November, and then Larry's at the end of November. Okay, our treasurer is not here today, so we don't have a report, but I will speak on it for just a moment. We do need to vote in a new secretary today, and one of the hurdles we've been having to deal with is banking, because we don't have a bank card and everything's digital. So as soon as we have the minutes, we'll call, and Bird, do we need to call a commissioners meeting again, or can the officers just get together and sign the signature cards?
They can sign it, but we have to have it in the minutes of today's meeting, who the officers are that we voted in. That's what the bank will require.
Okay, we should have that done. That shouldn't be a problem. So we'll get the treasurer's report next month. That moves us on to our committee reports, and the chair of the Correctional Facility Liaison Committee it's not a committee, the liaisons is absent as well. Larry, who else is on that committee?
On the jail?
Yeah.
I thought it was just Eddie and Mary.
Mary. Okay. All right. I keep thinking you're on it, but
well, I've offered, and I would certainly be willing to help out. I'm real. That one phone call I got, number one, that's as far as I know, and anybody on the commission can correct me, but that's the first direct phone call that we've gotten from the jail in a long time, and the lady's expressing real concerns. So I hope that we find that Eddie communicates to his liaison there that concern. So I'll follow up on that with Eddie to see what's going on.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And if we, maybe you do want to be a part of that if we have some hurdles, because it does seem like we're getting a few reports from there. Because last meeting we also had some information from Aaron, I believe, around. We can't hear you, Aaron. You're on mute.
Yeah, I got a call. I can't quite remember it now. I got a phone call, though, I believe.
Oh, yeah, I think that's what it was. All right. All right, the next, anything on the correctional facility liaison conversation? Shall we move forward to the Human Trafficking Fund Standing Committee? All right, Eddie is again absent, but we're kind of working the committee together, and I can give you a little bit of feedback, and I think Bird can help, but we were unable to, we were going to have a meeting yesterday to approve the PSA, but we weren't able to do that. So we're still working on that, and there's a PSA to go out. And we just saw from Jackie, but we do have funds, and we need to like figure out, get some more excitement around getting those funds out. And we also have one of our grants I just got notice of today, isn't sure she's going to be able to meet her obligations to the fund, so we might have additional funds on top of that to give away. So that's really all there is to report at the moment. Bird, do you want to add anything?
Well, I just wanted, it's because of Skydra and because of all the COVID stuff. What she had planned are things that really needed to be in person, one-to-one, and that kind of thing. And I think she did send something to you, didn't she?
She called me.
Yes, okay, about it. And I think through no fault of hers, it's becoming very difficult for her to do everything that she had planned to do. So I think there may be some funds returned, and it could be that there may be another Girl Scout who wants to follow through later, and I think we should encourage that when we talk with her. So I'm looking forward to having a meeting with her.
So when I talk to her, she does want to be able to reapply, and really more just feels like everything is so up in the air. And I really encouraged her, she was making a good decision because she couldn't determine what to do next. And what we can do is ask if she'll meet with us as a committee, and maybe there's ways to help her keep moving forward. I don't know. I think all of us meeting with her would probably help that better. So that's what I think our next step would be, to reach out to her and ask her to meet with us as a committee.
Good. I think
all right. Sounds good. Okay. Any discussion from the commission on the human trafficking fund? No. Is there any public comment, David? Is that a no? I couldn't hear you.
Sorry about that. I am not seeing any public comment.
Yeah, there's not going to, unless anyone's in the room, we're not going to get any public comment unless they're on Zoom because they can't see us, right? All right, moving on. Sanctuary Ordinance Standing Committee. The only thing I really have notes from our last meeting was, Bird, did you ever, because we were trying to connect some of the issues with communicating with LatinoNet, and you said that you would reach out to someone that we could connect with as regards as being support for the commission overall in interpreting.
Yes, I sent you that email with the name of people who could. I sent you Augustine's name, and he worked through HCOE, but he also worked at Humboldt State, and he has a class with interpreters. So, and he is truly bilingual, but he also has a class and is teaching other people to do it. So he knows the people around who can do translation and interpretation.
Okay.
Did you get that email from me?
I did. I think I misunderstood that I was meant to reach out. So I'll reach out.
Yeah.
I also have a list of local translators if we would like to use that resource for this commission.
Wonderful.
Great.
Yes.
So maybe if we just have those resources to tap into when we need a translator, that would be great to have, like we have, call sheets for our outreach list. We could have that for interpreters.
Mo, are yours all for Spanish, or do you have any other? Because
there's multiple. So most of the people on it are either Spanish or Hmong. And then there's also a few other Asian dialects that are listed. I can't think of off the top of my head. And I think that's about it, though.
But I know that Hmong is one of the ones that people have been looking for in other groups that I've talked with. So that would be wonderful to see the list that you have. That would
and I've kind of put the native speakers on top and then trickled down so that, we can source through the people of those voices first. But I can share that with this whole group.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, we can put that in a commission drive so we all have access to it when we need it. Thank you, Mo, for that. That was really it. As Mo, just so you know, the Sanctuary Ordinance Standing Committee, the role of that committee is to go through any reports that come through the county. That's our role, is to investigate, look, receive, and understand what to do with those reports. But really that committee doesn't do anything else. All right, our next committee is the Kindness Ad Hoc Committee. Mary, the chair of that committee, is absent. I did go and do a quick look into it really quickly. Our last post in that area was in August, and it was a post around some acts of, there was some local community members out there doing some good things around COVID. I think they were feeding or giving kids tie-dye glasses or something. And we're still at 307 people in that group. So any more hashtags, any more, if you have posts that you want to share in there, and the more we fill that feed with Humboldt kindness and use the hashtag Humboldt kindness, the more it'll be interesting to see what we come up with at the end of the year. Yes, Bird.
Well, I think a couple of meetings ago, we talked about using some of the McLean money to get buttons for the Kindness Committee. And Denise said, come back when we had some better idea of how we might be able to use them. And I'm just wondering if the committee talked about that at all, or have we just put that on hold forever?
Well, the committee hasn't met since we've had that conversation. And what my suggestion would be around that is, until we have an event or a place that we can really like give those out. Yeah. But it'd be nice to have that as an opportunity if that comes up, right? But right now it seems like our biggest outreach is going to be these listening sessions at the moment.
Well, I just wondered if some of them are doing things like handing out food, if there might be some possibility to use them in some way. And I can talk with Denise again about making them. Apparently they have the machine, but they will either make them or be there with us when we make them. And I need to talk to her again about the money, if you want me to.
Well, let me see if I can. Do you want to join that committee for?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Well, I will see if I can't motivate a committee meeting, because what popped in my head is right now we actually have large groups of people coming together because of the fire, and it's something that we could go down and work with Pay It Forward around. That maybe there's some opportunity there. I would love an excuse to go down there and help, frankly, so I think those are great ideas. I'm not chairing that committee, and I would like to speak to her. And then, okay. When I think about it, we actually have like a couple different places right now where large groups of people are coming together because of the fires. So that might be a great time. And there's lots of acts of kindness happening around the fires. That's
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yes, it's just beautiful. Okay. So
I'll talk to her again.
You'll talk to her. I'll talk to Mary, and we'll get an excuse to go help some people. Okay, sounds good. So we lost Carol, and the next thing on the agenda is the Racism and Cultural Awareness Ad Hoc Committee. I know they were scheduled for a meeting, I believe it was Monday. David, you're on that committee. Were you guys able to meet?
So we've, to my understanding, I think that we've had 2 meetings since the last Human Rights Commission meeting. I was in on the first one, but I did unfortunately miss the one earlier this week, I believe. If it did happen, Bird?
You're on mute, Bird.
I don't think it happened because I I tried to get on it, and it just said, well, the host will let you in, and nobody ever let me in. So I don't think we had a meeting.
Yeah, this is Larry. No, for some reason, it was scheduled for 10 o'clock on Monday, and I called in and was on with Carol, but for some reason, nobody else was on, and I don't know the technical why of that. And she was going to reschedule that meeting, but as far as I know, and then my computer, my email, everything is dead, so I don't know. But yeah, so we had that first meeting. There was some people were set to do various things and bring them to that second meeting. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
And as I say, I tried to get on, and I was just sitting in front of my computer doing some work, and it just stayed right there, never let me in. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So my suggestion, I think there were was there anything specific you were doing prior, from that first meeting?
Yes, I was to contact the Chamber of Commerce, which I did, and I'm in contact with someone there that has, apparently there is a group working on the same issue through the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm in the process of trying to work with them to see if I can attend one of their meetings, or if the committee can attend one of their meetings, find out what they're doing. The whole purpose was for us to do the research and find out what's already happening in the community.
Exactly,
we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to encourage and enhance what's happening already.
Exactly. David, was there something that you did specifically from that first meeting?
I believe I recall we had the conversation about the book lists, and that we were gonna get our book lists together and then convene and the potential plan. And stop me if I'm going too far with what we were talking about, Bird. But I think that we were talking about taking that to superintendents. Was it?
Yeah, to schools. That was Carol's task, and when we talked on Monday at 10, although she had made some contacts with county schools and actually the tribes, the various tribal councils, thinking that we want to try to maybe get on one of their agendas. She specifically was thinking we could start with the Yurok tribe.
Yes, and I think the idea was to see if superintendents of schools, what was happening in the schools, who was doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And my task was to get a hold of law enforcement and see what what sheriff department had in their manuals concerning racial and cultural sensitivity training. And also, I contacted the College of Redwoods Police Academy, spoke with their director, and both of those individuals were very cooperative and have sent me some email materials that I haven't been able to access. But like I say, this weekend I should be able to be back up and running and be able to address that. Again, I'm hopefully maybe next week we can reconvene a meeting and keeping on with this very important topic. So
there is quite a bit going on in our community right now. Ollie is offering a series of Ollie classes. I just finished taking the first two, which were on Black voices. And then in 2 weeks, there's one a week on Indigenous voices, and then LGBTQ voices after that. It's done by Molly Kate, and she has wonderful resource lists, which she said I can share with everyone. Also, I was moderating the forum for the Northern Humboldt High School District, and it sounds as though that board is working very hard on some of these issues that we've been talking about. So I think there's an awful lot going on in different places in our community, and maybe what we really need to do is to put together a composite list of who's doing what, so people can learn from everyone.
Yeah, again, I think that's probably what the ad hoc committee needs to focus on for sure, and
Yes.
bring it back to the commission hopefully next general meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Well, it's exciting to hear that there is so much going on and that you guys are now working on it too. I love the book list idea, and that's a great idea. Any comments or discussions from any of the commissioners around the Racism Cultural Awareness Ad Hoc Committee?
I agree that it would be really cool if we could just have a central place that lists resources, workshops, local book groups, things from like trusted sources that we know is going to promote the change we want to see in our county.
Like a resource list.
Yeah, and then, or like like it could be both, even like a resource list that's kind of like ongoing resources, and then an events page, because we have so many people that are leading workshops. You know, we have the Equity Alliance doing work, we have the racial roundtables. Most people that are plugged into one aren't normally plugged into them all. So it would be cool to list just that information, give people a central place to look if you want to do, you know, some racial justice work.
Gosh,
Yeah.
I can see a forum in our future.
I see a form. Yeah. Sorry, Larry, go ahead.
And I was just saying, I just see a forum in our future concerning this. I think it would be great to get some of these folks together up on a stage and have a, of course this is pre-COVID. I'm sorry, I mean, I think maybe that's not even possible. Some kind of a Zoom forum, I guess, is what I suggest. Anyway.
Forums work.
They do. They do. Okay, well, good work, you guys. Let's move on to the Digital Accessibility Ad Hoc Committee. The chair is absent, but this committee does expire, and they're doing a lot of work right now. Bird, can we put that to the floor without Eddie being here?
Of course.
Okay, so really, Bird, would you like to report on this committee?
I guess I can, sort of. Oh, I wasn't prepared for that. So let me think. What we're still working on how we're going to have internal communication and external communication. And we are working with Keat and Access Humboldt. And I think we are still working, even though we're not doing the listening anymore, because I think we're going to have a different committee for the listening sessions. But we're still working on a plan, really, so that we always have a plan of how we're going to do this. So I move that this committee be extended for at least 3 months.
Do we have a second? Aaron? All right, all those in favor? Bird Lochte, Aaron Rowe, David Haney, Mo I'm going to say this wrong for the moment. Desir Harper. It's not showing me your whole name.
Well, in Desire, it is spelled like desire, but it's Desir. Think of like a Z. Yeah.
I appreciate your patience with me.
My whole life.
All right. Are you voting yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay. And Larry Miller?
Yay.
All right. Any nays? All right. Any abstentions? All right. It looks like the Digital Accessibility Ad Hoc Committee will continue on for the next 3 months. Yay. All right. Next item on the agenda is the Human Rights Cannabis Inquiry Ad Hoc Committee. That consists of myself, Erin, and Mary. We're actually doing pretty good. We've gotten double the amount of responses from the cannabis community so far, but we got a good amount of responses from a traditional general community as well. I can show you some of those results. I did put them together, so no names, but just graphs if you guys would like to look at those. All right, let's take a look. It's already. Am I able to share my screen, David?
Let me know if you can't. You should be able to.
Okay. Okay. So the first, we created 3 different forms. The forms are almost identical, but what we didn't want is someone to not fill out a form because it was directed towards cannabis. It had questions that made folks feel uncomfortable. We wanted to, make sure that everyone felt comfortable as possible and included. So we created 3 forms. One is directed more to how folks identify with themselves as the cannabis community. The other was directed towards the general public. And then one was really geared for agencies and organizations. We haven't gotten a lot of feedback yet on the agencies and organizations yet, but I think we all know that a lot of those folks are really busy right now with the fires. But we have gotten a pretty good response so far with the cannabis and the general public. So one of the questions that we started out with was, because so many people, we hear a lot of people afraid that they don't want to use digital for tracking. They want anonymity. So we wanted to give people accessibility. So if someone else is filling out the form for them, they're able to show that. And so we can also understand the perspective of the information. So here's where we're at so far, which is pretty good. It means people feel safe filling out the form. Why do they want to remain anonymous? Some are afraid of legal retaliation. It looks like no one, and a few have accessibility to technology issues. And that's actually a fairly high number. And you can see that we're trying to make sure that they are from Humboldt. There are people who don't live in the county who might have had past experiences, so we want to make sure they're included. Here kind of gives you an idea of the length of timeline folks have lived here, and it's a pretty broad spectrum. This can give you an idea where most of the constituents are coming from that have reported. And then here, this was a multiple choice, but they could also add information. And as you can see, there has been information added. And it looks like we have a really good portion of folks either that are filling out the application that are in the permitting process or part of it. And again, here's some other answers that folks had around how they have been involved in cannabis. We have, let's kind of keep going. We've asked what has stopped them from becoming permitted. Again, we have a few add-ons to that. And if you have any questions as I'm going through this, please don't hesitate to say something. I'm just going to kind of keep going through it slowly because there's a few.
Lillian?
Yeah.
Larry, I've got a question.
Yes.
Um, have you put these have these surveys been made available at all the different growing supply outlets there are around? Like,
Oh, good. No, you know what? I didn't even think about that.
I would think that'd be an excellent place to
That's a
have a
great
stack of them.
idea. No, it went out to everybody that we have on our resource list in for the Human Rights Commission, and then it also went out to some cannabis organizations, a few of the bigger businesses, and some advocates that requested it. But we're really hoping to get, you know, more. We need more outreach, and we've just started. So, you know, the emails, so just so everyone has a little bit of a perspective, the emails went out last Friday, and we've gotten about 40 or 45 responses.
Great, great.
All right. And so our next steps are to kind of jump on board with the listening sessions. And we're hoping during the listening sessions, there's different ways that we could integrate having this survey available for folks who are watching or participating. Any questions?
Lelania?
Yes.
Is there a time frame that the survey is available for?
Yes, well, this committee is a 6-month committee. So we're hoping to get as many surveys as we can in by the end of November. So then we can compile them, because there's a lot of, you know, I just showed you guys the graphs. There's a couple sections where people can fill in and give comments, and there's very diverse comments in there. So we're going to have to really kind of go through. Some people have attached files and photos. So once we finish getting these filled out, or, you know, putting it out there, the committee is going to have to really kind of go through those things. And we can, you know, ask for an extension if we need to, but I think if we as a commission support this, and as we move along, ask folks to fill it out, and because we're so diverse as a commission, that I think, you know, if we got 40 just in a few days with an email, and a little bit on social media, I think if we all push this out and start having conversations around it, we'll get a lot of really good feedback and can get it done in time. We also, in there, we got some good suggestions too, which I made a few adjustments. You know, like we didn't put on there specifically if you even use cannabis. And we switched that up in there. So I think it's, you know, we're gonna end up with some good, interesting data after this, and maybe, you know, it'll help us as a commission determine where we can put our energy to help make a difference. All right, any questions or comments on this? There's no actions at the moment for this committee. Any questions or comments? Erin, do you have anything you want to add?
No. Oh, just that the more information I'm getting, the more I realize that what a big issue it is, and why why we're doing it. So.
All right, we shall move on then to listening sessions. So traditionally, as a commission, you know, we go out and we do town hall meetings, and those were cut short immediately, right when we were going, COVID happened. So we're converting to digital. Where we've gotten so far as a committee is that we want to get this done by November. And we're going to have, like we do traditionally, have 3 sessions, one in Southern Humboldt, one in Central Humboldt, one in Northeastern Humboldt. And the key to getting folks engaged is for us to target key leaders in each of those regions to actually commit to coming online with us and participating, kind of like a panel setup, which is a little different from our normal listening sessions, but we're trying to find a way to help engage our population online. So as a committee, we're asking 2 things from you as commissioners. One is to help us identify those key leaders in your districts that you feel would engage and would bring value to that conversation, to participate with us. And 2, we will be asking you to participate as a human rights commissioner and choose which meetings you would, because we can't all participate in each one because of the Brown Act. So we'll need to choose which commissioners, who wants to participate in each region. And how many can we have, Bird? 4. Okay. It would be really nice if all of us participated in at least one. And does that include me, Bird?
Yes, you're just a commissioner. Just
Okay.
because you do all the work, you're still just one person.
Okay, just because I'm bossy. Well, I get confused because I'm a part of all the committees. So that's a little confusing. Okay, so think about that. We're meeting again, I think it's next week. And we'll have, hopefully after that meeting, we can kind of lock in a schedule and come back to you guys asking when you could participate at the November meeting. All right. All right, let's move on to unfinished business. We also have room on that committee, I believe, the listening sessions committee, for one more person as well. So that, Mo, if that's something that you would be a great asset, I think, on that committee because of your understanding of Access Humboldt in the digital world. So I would love for you to consider that. All right, let's move on to unfinished business. New secretary, Bird.
I nominate David Haney as our secretary.
Thank you. Aaron.
Second.
Aaron seconds that. All those in favor? Bird. No?
You have to ask for other nominations.
Oh, sorry. Do we have any more nominations? All right, any discussion? All right, do we have a second for David Haney as secretary?
Aaron did.
Aaron did already.
All right. All right. It looks like David Haney's our secretary. Oh boy. Thank you, David.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
But Lelania, I know that there's no opposition, but because there is a motion on the floor, you have to vote on it.
Oh, okay. All those in favor? Bird Lochte, Aaron Rose in favor, Monique Desieres in favor, Larry?
Yes, yes,
All
yes.
right, and I'm in favor. All right, any nays? Any abstentions? All right, welcome, David. Thank you for jumping in before the before you got voted in. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Incredibly important job.
It is.
Yeah.
It's seeming to be that way.
Yes.
We think it is for sure. And it's not an easy job either. So we appreciate it.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
prepared and I'm thankful. Thank you all.
Thank you. Well, you're doing great so far. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Whenever I'm looking like I'm distracted doing something else, it's me taking notes on the meeting. So I'm never trying to be rude to anyone.
We appreciate that. I don't think you're rude. I doubt the rest of the commission does.
I
Bird.
will also say, David, that on another group that I participate in, the secretary turns off her camera because she doesn't want people to think she's distracting. So if you felt you wanted to do that, I don't think anybody would object.
Thank you, Bird.
All right. Well, on to new business. There was a letter attached to the agenda that we actually discussed last month from Michael Langdon around his request for us to consider a public oversight and public advocacy committee. And we determined at last meeting that we wanted to discuss it at this meeting. So I would like to open the floor for that discussion.
Oversight of what?
Did you read the letter? Would you like me to read should I read the letter?
The pertinent parts. I'm not remembering it.
All right, I think the main spot is at the end. It is, okay. We in Humboldt County, like other counties facing the COVID crisis, police injustice, political bribery, and corruption, and entrenched racial and economic prejudice, need greater transparency with civil public involvement. I propose that a citizens oversight committee made up of volunteers be instituted and put in place to be available for serious reviews of police and civil service and other departments funded through taxpayers when any misconduct or malpractice by such is suspected. A civil service record should be kept up to date on all employees from our local government, subject to review by this independent committee. I'll read the last sentence, hold on. If these suggestions are instituted by you, our representatives of the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors, they can only benefit to promoting transparency, clarity, and better protection for our citizens. Bird.
Well, there's the other part in there that says he wants it to be he wants it to be the Human Rights Commission and renamed Humboldt County Human Rights Commission and Public Advocacy. And that's where I stick. I mean, that's adding a huge layer on what we are trying to do. We are up to our eyeballs on things we're trying to do for human rights and human rights awareness. And I think that public advocacy on oversight is a different thing. That's what the grand jury does. Civil grand jury does that, or is supposed to do it. So I don't know. I understand what he's asking for, but I personally don't feel that that we are the appropriate place.
Well, when you put it like that with the grand jury, then that makes sense to me. I think what we discussed last month was the fact that we have this public observer committee, or did that close last month?
That has never
He
met.
was the chair, and I don't think there's been any action at all with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe what this is this is a subject, because that's where I think that we came back, is that are these the same things? Can they kind of are they the same conversation or not? Bird?
Well, I think that the advocacy, the oversight, all of that is the grand jury and maybe some other committee for the advocacy. The grand jury is the oversight. I mean, that is, the civil grand jury is what it's set up for oversight of government. There's another part of it, because he put in there civil discourse and so forth, and that is a completely different thing. that is being lost in our society. And I think that comes down to every leadership group in the county to try to model, demonstrate, and enhance civil discourse in everything that we do. I believe we do that as the Human Rights Commission. I think every time we have a meeting, we do have civil discourse, and we ask people to talk with us if they want to. And I think that that's the kind of thing that we need to do for changing civility in our community.
Anyone else? Larry?
Well, I don't think there's anybody on the commission that would, deny the fact that, we're short on real meaningful advocacy for the poor and homeless, that's a given, and there's certainly, how these things, you're talking about, issues, very real, very human issues, dealt with by advocates, and it would be something that would it would require a significant amount of training, and I don't think it would be something that volunteers would just immediately be able to step into. So I have some issues with the specifics, the mechanics of this. So I don't know. I don't think as the way it's structured, I could support it.
Well, it sounds like we already have something in place, and we have very little. Look at this meeting today. We have very little bandwidth, and we have some very serious issues on our agenda already. It sounds like it doesn't, and you mentioned the word civil. I think we get looped into that a lot, Bird, between human rights versus civil rights. So I tend to agree with what you both are saying, is that, we don't even have the bandwidth, let alone to create a whole public advocacy committee. Bird?
I'd like to hear what our new members have to say about this. How does this sound to you? Is this something that you want to do or would be interested? We have new people, and I always want to hear new ideas if you have them.
Mo, feel free to go right ahead.
I'm chasing children around my house, so I actually missed the beginning of what was said to comment on it.
That's okay, Mo.
David,
yes. So what my thought on it is, I generally agree with what Bird, Larry, and Lelania have said. There's what I see in the community is people that are activists want to have a direct line and a direct method to be able to address the appropriate people, typically city council or board of supervisors, to be able to make some change in the area, right? And so as the Human Rights Commission, that's kind of what we handle certain aspects of that. The public advocacy, I completely understand where the gentleman's coming from. It's that's why we've, as the Human Rights Commission, is trying to do the listening sessions and outreach and get out into the community to hear what people want advocacy on, and make moves on that. So I think that it requires people that are willing to do the work, and as we know. This is an unpaid position, and in Humboldt, it's hard to find people to do solid work and in an unpaid position. You find people that do want to do it, as I think this gentleman seems like he'd want to do. But then, you have a person that wants to create some infrastructure then you're at starting from scratch, trying to get people involved. You know what I mean? And the Human Rights Commission's been active, and because of just, you know, people not being, because of everybody having a lot of things going on, it's hard to get people coalescing around different meetings and different groups. And so another piece of infrastructure, it's you know, there's infrastructure already there. It may not be exactly what everyone's looking for, but like Bird said, there's the grand jury, there's other, like we spoke about in the beginning of the meeting, all the resources that we can get on the list. There's other avenues that people can be activists in this community and make a change happen. And I would just encourage that gentleman to come to these meetings and continue the advocacy and to support us in what we're doing, because we're trying to do good things on this commission, and we just need the support of the community.
Thank you, David. Yes, Bird. You're on mute.
I thought I unmuted myself, sorry. He also says that the county should be paying for it, and we know they don't even want to pay us. So that's another roadblock in trying to do something as formal as he's talking about.
It also seems to me like it could be a private nonprofit that was created as a checks and balance as well, you know, that we could always support down the road if someone developed something. Yes,
well,
Bird?
That is one of the things that Access Humboldt does, because they are showing all meetings and so forth. And it's also something that the League of Women Voters does, because we do study things and we look at what is happening at government agencies, you know, elected government bodies, and we do speak to them if we have a position that is either in favor or opposing something that they're planning to do. So there are other groups in the community, as you say, nonprofits and maybe private ones too.
Yeah, I'll add just that maybe in the future or somewhere there can be some type of fund that works to basically provide this for nonprofits. Like the nonprofits do the work, but maybe, you know, there's some fund that we can tap or connect people with that can ultimately, you know, support people in these positions that are bringing change forth to our supervisors or our city council. Or I feel like we have lots of little areas where people are doing change that never really moves past those communities because of the funding issue. So maybe just something to consider in the future or down the line about where we might be able to tap resources to present to people like this. So not necessarily something that we take on as a committee, but something that we can uplift or create a platform for communities that are already doing that work.
Is that sort of what, yes, Bird?
Well, I think that's where the foundation, Humboldt Area Foundation, McLean Foundation, and if we could funnel to them ideas that come to us and say these are groups that we think are worthy of being funded, and also suggest to those groups that they apply for funds from the foundations.
Is that something that we could endorse someone who was applying for a fund from a grant from those foundations?
Yeah, I like that idea, but the only thing I want to concentrate on is that we aren't getting stuck filing through the same names that are always being funded or that are always seeking support from positions of power within our county. Like maybe this takes a little bit more word of mouth so that we are endorsing people that have never been on the doorstep of Humboldt Area Foundation, or not to say we don't have great nonprofits in this area, but these nonprofits do not serve every identity that exists in this county.
And that's a really good point, Monique. And I think that's where we could come in with looking at the ones that are not the most popular ones or the ones that have been funded, and see if we can't encourage them to apply.
All right, any more discussion? It sounds like we're not going to take this on, but we're still looking at ways to be able to support more action in the community, like what we did with the Human Trafficking Fund. You know, we would like to find ways to be able to empower more folks doing good things in the community.
Yeah, and then maybe we can just look at non-conventional ways of getting people involved, and maybe even, you know, having new members like David and myself will already tap into that. Because also, like, the Human Trafficking Fund was a great resource, but very few people, I feel like, heard about it and knew about it fully to really decide to do something with it.
Well, unfortunately, we do, you know, we can only get it out there so many times. There was quite a few articles around it. And really what we can do is get it done, but we can't necessarily get it in everyone's hands. So the more of us as a commission that go out there and talk about it and share it and have that resource, then absolutely, that's what's so great about, you know, having all of us on here, is that we can, because we are all so different, that we can access all these different communities. And so there is money in that fund if you guys know of any organizations or anything that maybe has a program that could utilize it. That would be amazing. But what you're talking about, Mo, is right on track with what some of our goals are as a commission this year, is to see if we can't do such a great job this year that maybe we couldn't ask for some sort of fund like that, so we could empower more diverse programs. But we've got a little bit of work to do still, as you can see from our agenda. We want to finish some things first. Any more discussion, folks? Aaron.
Well, just briefly, I would concur with Bird that it is beyond our scope, and what I heard in his letter was requesting a police oversight committee. That's what I heard the request was, and I don't think that's in our mission. So
Yeah.
I will add too that there are a couple of entities within the community that are taking on kind of the task of overseeing police, talking about defunding the police. And then also there is a community advisory that's been elected through the CR Police Academy. So maybe there are just people we need to talk to versus creating something new.
Bird.
Do we need to respond to him in any way?
He was invited to our last meeting. But yeah, I think we do need to respond to him in some sort of way. He knows that we were going to discuss it today.
Well, then I would suggest that it could be a very short response, that we have discussed it, that we feel what we are doing, give a couple of things, you know, points of what we are already doing, and that the police oversight and advocacy is not part of our role.
Okay, that's pretty easy.
And we already have a great deal to do with a very small group.
that you may invite them to join.
Yes.
There you go. That's a great idea.
Yes.
We're looking for more commissioners. Okay. All right. Well, I'll put that together and then have you check it for me, Bird.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Aaron too.
And Aaron, yeah. All right. Well, I think that's what we'll do. It sounds like there's no real action to take, and I'll just respond to him briefly with that information. The last thing on the agenda is something that I realized as we were building this survey, that maybe what we need to do, and again, this is another committee, but I don't think it would be a lot of work, is create a survey to have on our website permanently for these kind of complaints. Jim created a great one for us to answer when the phones come in, when the calls come in, but I think if we took that and transitioned it to a more public questionnaire, if we had it posted on our county website, it would help our community feel like we were listening. And it would give us a way to listen and get more information on where to take action. in a more digital way than what we have been. I think it's a really simple way to bridge the gap between the community and ourselves.
Lelania, how do we have anybody that can manipulate our website now? How's that happen?
It's just, I basically, you know, we added the links to the surveys on there. All the cannabis surveys are on there, the human traffic. I just send the county the link and then they put it up there. So we would make.
So that would basically be all we'd need to do?
All we need to do is make the survey, which Jim pretty much has done. We need to adjust it because it's only for us to fill in. But what we could do is get a committee together to make a survey. We could approve it next month, and then it would go on the website.
I'll be on that committee. I love making forms. I'm all over making forms.
I like the form too. All right. Well, first we have to motion to create a committee to create this human rights form. Okay, Bird?
I don't think you need to create a committee here.
Okay.
Erin, she loves making them. Make it, if you do
Yeah,
it,
go
Erin,
for it.
then just let us see it and approve it. Do you need help doing it? You said
Maybe.
Can I help her casually? Am I
sure. Yeah.
without a committee? All right, so Erin and I will team up, and does that work for you, Erin? I'll help you where I can.
That's perfect. And yeah, I just want to get from you, I want at least one other person to talk about what you think is important. Make sure we're getting everything and what someone might want to complain about.
Absolutely. What we can do is we can take the survey we already created, right, with the and then Jim's survey,
right,
and marry those, and then
edit the daylight down.
Figure it out, then hack it around it. Yeah, totally.
Okay. Actually, if you want to get that together for me and send it in some format that I can deal with, I will just stick them together and I'll edit it all out.
Perfect. That would be amazing.
Okay,
One,
great.
Right,
one point to add, if I can, pertaining to something that we talked about a month ago, the sanctuary ordinance and having some kind of a way to intake on that for what we have to do for that requirement. If depending on how the form gets set up, if there's like a drop down or a radio button or a checkbox to include like, hey, this is related to the sanctuary ordinance, that will help us delineate those intakes.
Good. I wonder if we could link the sanctuary thing to, well, we can figure that out. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We are at the end of our agenda. Does any Bird?
Well, be sure that we have the things on the next agenda that we want. And I want to repeat what I said earlier about the Eleanor Roosevelt video. Would like to, I hope I will have something to report and vote on at that point.
So that would be, that's going to be on the next agenda, the movie. Okay. Yeah. Does anyone else have any agenda items that they would like to put on for the future agenda items?
Just to check the survey up,
Got it.
Yeah, on the website, maybe we have just a big section that's a drop down, contact us, complaints, sanctuary ordinance, cannabis survey.
I don't get to, it's the county website, so we don't have design or any input like that. We just give them the links and they put them how they put them. But when you scroll down, you can see the surveys, and the human trafficking one is right up in the right hand corner on the site, so it's pretty prominent. So I'm sure, we want to be careful because we don't want to be asking the county to moving it around all the time, so we need to kind of choose what we want prominent, and because the human trafficking fund is us giving funds, it's kind of good to have at the top there. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, if you look at the website and you see that there's some things that you think should be changed or added, we can always ask. I don't mind asking.
I just want to keep it really simple and clear and accessible, particularly like the Latinx people. They're probably not going to be it's not a great accessibility. So I just want to keep it really simple and accessible.
Good idea.
What we can do is make, like how we have the human trafficking resource page on there. What we could do, I think, is with all our dashboards, is we could make a page that links to all of that information. So like what Mo was talking about, like we could have a resource page for grants. We could have a resource page for Latino Net and all those things, but that's a lot of web managing for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we ever do need that type of service, I am a website designer. I'm not sure if that falls on like committee members or not, but I am willing to donate some time to make our website more aesthetically pleasing or easy to navigate.
Well, unfortunately, our website is run by the county. So we have no input in that. You know, it's all one big system. But what we do utilize is Google Pages, and that's how the human trafficking resource page was built. So we're able to build something like that we can then attach to the county website, like link together. So in that respect, we have a lot of opportunity, but with the web page, the main web page, we have zero flexibility except for adding links. Does that make sense, Mo?
Yeah, totally.
Right on. All right. So it looks like next month we want to talk about the Eleanor Roosevelt movie, and we want to review the survey. Those are the two main items we have so far. Am I correct? All right. Anything else, Bird?
I just want to say again, welcome to Monique, and thank you for all the many ideas that you've given us already in one meeting. It's just wonderful to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks, Bird.
Yes, welcome, Monique. It is great to have you. It's great to have all you guys here. It's a good team. All right, thank you. Like Larry, I see you silently. Do you have anything to add before we close? Looks like not. All right, well, it is 6:56, and I call our meeting to a close. Thank you, everybody, for everything.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
So David, if we could get this up on YouTube fairly quickly, and then we can